The ship, Wayfarer's Dawn, moved slowly through deep space, its engines humming like a distant heartbeat. Outside the wide observation windows, stars stretched endlessly, cold and silent. Inside, the ship was alive with many species, each from a different world, each carrying their own habits, fears, and ways of surviving the universe. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu stood near the corridor junction, holding her tablet close to her chest. She had learned early in her career that deep space ships were not just about technology or missions. They were about people, or beings, living together for months, sometimes years, far from their home stars. Mara was human. That alone made her unusual on this ship. Humans were still new to the Galactic Cooperative. Compared to most spacefaring species, humanity arrived late, loud, and emotional. They talked too much. They laughed easily. They touched each other without thinking. Many alien species found this strange, sometimes uncomfortable, but also difficult to ignore. Mara had been chosen as a habitation compatibility officer because she was calm, patient, and good at listening. Her job was simple in theory and hard in practice. Make sure everyone on the ship could live together without conflict. Today, she had a problem. She walked toward the medical wing, passing crew members of many shapes and sizes. Tall, insect-like engineers clicked softly as they spoke. A floating gas-based scientist shimmered gently inside a containment field. A group of reptilian navigators moved slowly, conserving energy as they always did. And then there was Sarai. Mara spotted her sitting on a bench near the medical door. Sarai's species, the Lyrathi, were tall and slender, with smooth skin that shifted in soft colors. In dim light, faint patterns of blue and green glowed across Sarai's arms and neck. The glow was beautiful, but today it flickered unevenly. That was not normal. "Sarai?" Mara said gently as she approached. Sarai lifted her head, her eyes, large and dark, focused slowly, as if she was very tired. The glow along her skin dimmed for a moment, then returned in weak pulses. "Lieutenant Mara," Sarai said. Her voice was quiet and musical, but strained. "Thank you for coming." "You didn't show up for your last 3 rest cycles," Mara said, sitting beside her. "Medical flagged it. Are you feeling unwell?" "No," Sarai replied after a pause. "That is the problem." Mara frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "I am functioning," Sarai said carefully. "But I am not resting." Mara tapped her tablet, bringing up Sarai's medical data. "Your scans are normal. No infection. No neural damage."
"Your species is usually very good at sleep regulation." "Yes," Sarai said.
"We are." There was a long silence. Around them, the ship continued its quiet work. Somewhere far away, a door slid open and closed. Mara lowered her tablet. "Sarai, you asked to speak with me privately. If something is wrong, you can tell me." Sarai's glow dimmed further, fading almost completely before slowly returning. Among the Lyrathi, this was a sign of emotional stress. "I am afraid," Sarai said. Mara did not interrupt. "For many cycles now," Sarai continued, "when I attempt to rest, my mind does not slow. The darkness feels too empty. The silence feels curled, heavy." "That sounds like anxiety," Mara said softly. "Humans experience it often." "Yes," Sarai said. Medical suggested chemical assistance. It did not help. Mara hesitated. "Then what do you think will help?" Sarai turned her head slightly, not quite looking at Mara. "I have observed your species." Mara felt a small sense of surprise. "Observed us how?" "You gather together," Sarai said. "Even when unnecessary, you sit close."
You sleep in shared spaces. You generate heat.
Sound, movement, Mara smiled faintly. We're not very quiet, I know. That is not a flaw, Sarai said. It is comforting. Mara blinked. She had not expected that word. Sarai finally looked at her directly. Lieutenant Mara, your species emits warmth at levels higher than most cooperative members. But more than that, your neural patterns change when you are calm. They are steady. Mara's smile faded into curiosity. You can sense that? Yes, we always could. But among my people, we learned long ago not to rely on others for regulation. Independence became survival. She paused, then added quietly. Perhaps we lost something. Mara felt a strange tightness in her chest. Sarai, what are you asking me? Sarai's bioluminescence brightened suddenly, then softened like a slow breath. She says the medical door chimed as Dr. Harrell entered the corridor. That human warmth helps her sleep at night. Mara turned sharply. Doctor, were you listening?
Only because medical is involved, Harrell said calmly.
The doctor was a tall avian species, feathers neatly folded. Sarai has refused sedation again. I do not want to be forced into rest, Sarai said. I want to feel safe enough to sleep. Mara looked between them. And you think a human can provide that? I know it, Sarai said simply. Harrell tilted their head. This request violates no law, but it violates several assumptions. Mara laughed quietly, more from nerves than humor. That sounds like humanity. The doctor studied Mara closely. Lieutenant, this would require observation, consent, and strict boundaries. Mara nodded. Of course. She looked back at Sarai. What exactly are you asking for? Sarai took a slow breath. To rest near you. Nothing more. Mara felt her face warm slightly. Humans had shared sleeping spaces for comfort since before they had words for it. But no one had ever asked her like this. She thought of Earth, of families sleeping close during storms, of crowded shelters, shared blankets, heartbeats in the dark. She nodded. We can try, Mara said. One rest cycle, medical observation only. Sarai's glow steadied, becoming smooth and even for the first time in days.
Thank you,
Sarai said. As they walked toward the habitation wing together, Mara felt the weight of the moment settle in. This was not just about sleep. It was about something deeper, something humans had always carried with them into the dark. And somewhere in the cold space between stars, that warmth might matter more than anyone had ever imagined. The lights in the habitation wing dimmed slowly, shifting to the soft blue tone used during rest cycles. The ship Wayfarer's Dawn never truly slept, but it learned how to whisper instead of speak. Engines lowered their hum. Doors slid more quietly. Even the air circulation softened, as if the ship itself understood the idea of rest. Mara stood outside her assigned cabin, tablet in hand, reading the final medical instructions again, even though she already knew them by heart. Observation sensors active, physical contact allowed, unlimited. Emergency call ready. She sighed and locked the tablet to her belt. She was calm on the outside. Inside, her thoughts moved quickly. This was new, not just for the ship, but for the cooperative. Humans were used to closeness, but no one had ever officially asked for it, like this, studied it, like this. She wondered how many eyes were watching already. The door across the corridor slid open with a soft sound. Sarai stepped out, her tall frame moving slowly, carefully. The glow along her skin was dim but steady, like a quiet candle. Are you still willing? Sarai asked. Mara looked up and smiled gently. Yes. Are you? Sarai nodded. I have not slept properly in 16 cycles. I am hopeful. Mara opened her cabin door. The room was simple. 2 narrow sleep platforms built into the wall, adjustable for different species. Soft lighting, temperature controls already adjusted slightly higher than standard. Sarai paused at the doorway, her glow flickering once.
It is warmer, she said. Humans like it that way,
Mara replied. You can tell me if it's too much? Sarai stepped inside. The door closed behind them. For a moment, neither of them moved. Medical sensors activated silently, embedded in the walls. Heart rate. Neural activity. Thermal output. Everything recorded, everything measured. Mara sat on the edge of her sleep platform. We don't have to rush, she said. We can just sit first? That would be acceptable, Sarai replied. She sat beside Mara, leaving a respectful distance. Even so, Mara felt it immediately. The air between them seemed to change. Warmer, fuller somehow. Sarai's glow brightened slightly, then softened again. You are radiating heat, Sarai said, almost in wonder. Mara chuckled quietly. Yeah.
Humans do that.
No, Sarai said, more than expected. Mara shrugged. We evolved on a cold planet. Nights were dangerous. Staying close kept us alive. Sarai considered this. My people evolved under stable skies, constant temperatures, darkness without threat. We learned to be alone. She paused. Perhaps too well. Mara lay back slowly on the platform, leaving space beside her. You can lie down if you want. We can adjust if needed. Sarai hesitated, then lay down carefully, her long form aligning beside Mara's. There was still space between them. No contact yet. Minutes passed. Mara focused on her breathing, slow and steady. She had learned techniques during long missions, ways to calm herself when space felt too big. She wondered if Sarai could sense it. Sarai's glow pulsed softly, not in distress now, but in slow waves. Her breathing was shallow, uneven.
Is this acceptable? Sarai asked quietly.
Yes, Mara said. You're doing fine. Another minute passed, then Sarai shifted slightly, just enough that her arm brushed against Mara's sleeve. The contact was light, almost nothing, but Sarai froze. Mara did not move. After a few seconds, Sarai did not pull away. Instead, her glow changed. The uneven flicker smoothed into a steady pattern, like gentle light through water. Sarai exhaled, long and slow.
That helps,
she said. Mara smiled softly, though Sarai could not see it clearly in the low light. She adjusted slightly, allowing her arm to rest closer, offering warmth without pressure. Medical sensors reacted instantly. In the observation room, Dr. Harrell leaned forward, feathers lifting in surprise. Neural rhythm stabilization is accelerating, they said. Faster than predicted. Another officer stared at the data. Her stress markers are dropping below baseline.
And the human? Someone asked.
Harrell glanced at Mara's readings. Calm. Normal. If anything, slightly improved. Back in the cabin, Mara felt a strange sense of peace. She had expected to feel nervous, watched, uncomfortable. Instead, it felt familiar, like sitting beside someone during a long night, sharing silence. Sarai shifted again, closer this time. Her skin was cool compared to Mara's, but slowly warming. Lieutenant Mara, Sarai said softly, her voice already slower. Your heartbeat is loud. Mara laughed quietly. Sorry. Humans aren't very subtle. No, Sarai replied. It is steady, predictable. She paused. It reminds me of something I do not remember. Mara's chest tightened. You don't have to explain. Sarai's breathing deepened. Her glow dimmed slightly, not in stress, but in rest. The patterns along her arms slowed, sinking gradually with the rise and fall of Mara's breath. Minutes turned into an hour. In the observation room, silence filled the space as data continued to flow. "Are we seeing synchronization?" one scientist whispered. Hurl nodded slowly. "Yes, her neural cycles are aligning with the human circadian rhythm." Another officer frowned. "Is that safe?" "It appears mutual," Hurl said. "No harm detected." Back in the cabin, Sarai stirred slightly, then relaxed again. Without fully waking, she shifted closer, resting part of her weight against Mara's side. Mara stiffened for half a second, then relaxed. She adjusted the blanket covering them both more evenly. Sarai made a soft sound, something between a sigh and a hum. Her glow dimmed further, settling into a faint, peaceful light. "She's asleep," Mara whispered, mostly to herself. Her tablet vibrated softly with a silent message from medical readings: "Stable. Continue." Mara closed her eyes. She thought of how strange this would sound to people back home. A human and an alien sharing warmth in deep space. But it did not feel strange now. It felt right. Hours passed. For the first time since joining the ship, Sarai slept through an entire rest cycle. When the lights slowly brightened to morning levels, Sarai stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first. She realized where she was. She froze. Mara noticed immediately and spoke softly. "You're safe. You slept." Sarai blinked. Her glow flared briefly, then steadied. "I slept," she said, disbelief in her voice. She sat up carefully, looking at her hands. The room. "Mara, I did not dream." There was no darkness pressing in. Mara smiled. Tired, but warm. That's usually a good sign. Sarai looked at her closely. "Your species does this naturally?" "Yeah," Mara said. "We've always done it." Sarai's glow brightened, not in excitement, but in something deeper. In the observation room, alarms did not sound. Instead, soft confirmation lights blinked green across the panels. Harold Wexenthal, a senior cooperative liaison, stared at the summary report in silence. "This changes things," they said quietly, because the data did not lie. Human warmth was not just comfort, it was regulation. And for the first time since leaving her homeworld, Sarai felt rested, whole, and unafraid of the quiet. Far from Earth, far from any sun, something ancient and human had reached across species and stars, and the ship would never be the same again. The news did not spread loudly at first. There were no announcements, no official reports, shared with the whole crew, but ships were small worlds, and information had a way of moving through them like air, quiet but unstoppable. By the second rest cycle after Sarai slept beside Mara, whispers had begun. Medical logs showed improvement. Clear improvement. Sarai's neural stability stayed high even when awake. Her bioluminescence remained smooth and steady throughout the work cycle. She walked with more energy. She spoke more. She even laughed once, a soft sound that surprised everyone who heard it. Other crew members noticed. They noticed when Sarai stopped pausing in corridors to collect herself. They noticed when she volunteered for longer observation shifts. They noticed when her glow no longer flickered in the dark. And they noticed who she spent time with. Mara felt the change first in the way people looked at her. Not hostile, not afraid, curious. An insectoid engineer clicked its mandibles softly when she passed, eyes lingering longer than normal. A reptilian navigator tilted his head, watching her heat signature as she stood near a wall console. Even species that normally avoided humans now seemed more aware of her presence. She tried not to think too much about it. In the medical wing, Dr. Krell reviewed fresh data with growing concern and fascination. Her sleep efficiency remains above 90 to 8%, they said, even without direct contact during waking hours. A junior analyst shifted nervously. Are we sure this effect won't fade? Bow folded their wings slightly.
It may, or it may spread. That was the word no one liked to say out loud.
Spread. The first new request came 3 cycles later. Mara was in the nutrition hall, eating a simple meal, when a shadow fell across her table. She looked up to see Talon, a small, fur-covered species from a high-gravity world. Talon were known for their sharp minds and constant movement. Stillness made them anxious. "Lieutenant Mara," Talon said, voice tight. "May I speak with you?" "Of course," Mara replied, setting her utensils aside. Talon hesitated, tail flicking. "I have been unable to rest properly." Mara's chest tightened slightly. "Have you spoken to medical?" "Yes," Talon said quickly. "They say my vitals are normal." Mara waited. "I have observed Sarai," Talon continued, "and I have observed you." Mara already knew where this was going. "I am not asking for what she asked," Talon said, quickly and carefully. "I only want to sit near you during rest cycle. No contact." Mara inhaled slowly. "Not something I can decide on my own." "I understand," Talon said. "But I wanted you to know." By the end of that cycle, medical had logged 7 similar reports, none of them identical. Different species, different symptoms, but the same core issue. Sleep disturbance, anxiety, a sense of emptiness during rest. And always, one common observation. Humans felt different. The Cooperative Council aboard the ship called an emergency meeting. The room was filled with representatives from nearly every species on board. Some sat, some floated, some rested within containment fields. Holographic displays showed streams of data, all pointing in the same direction. Harold stood at the center. "We are observing a phenomenon," they said calmly. "Human proximity appears to regulate stress responses in multiple species." Murmurs rippled through the room. A tall, crystalline delegate pulsed faintly. "Are you suggesting influence?" "No," Krell replied. "There is no evidence of coercion or manipulation." "Dependency, then?" asked another voice. "That remains unclear," Krell said honestly. Mara sat quietly at the back, hands folded, heart beating faster than she liked. She did not want to be the center of this. She had only wanted to help one exhausted crewmate sleep. Sarai stood near the front. Her glow was calm, steady. "My people once shared rest," Sarai said, speaking clearly. "Long ago. We abandoned it in the name of strength. What you call dependency may be recovery." A murmur of disagreement followed. "The cooperative was built on independence," a metallic voice said. "No species should require another to function." Mara finally stood. "With respect," she said, voice steady but firm. "Humans have always functioned because of others. We don't survive alone. We never have." Several eyes turned toward her. "That doesn't make us weak," Mara continued. "It's how we made it off our planet." The council ended without resolution. 2 cycles later, the order came. All cross-species rest proximity involving humans was suspended. Effective immediately. The announcement was calm, polite. "Final." Mara read it twice, disbelief sinking into her bones. That night, Sarai did not sleep. She lay alone in her quarters, lights dimmed, temperature stable. Medical monitored her closely. Her glow flickered, her breathing became shallow, her neural activity spiked. Sedation was offered. She refused. I do not want to be made unconscious, she said quietly. I want to rest. Mara sat on her own platform, staring at the wall, feeling useless for the first time in a long while. Across the ship, others struggled. Talon paced their cabin until exhaustion forced them to sit on the floor. A crystalline scientist dimmed their internal light to dangerous levels. A gas-based life form requested increased containment pressure, reporting feelings of collapse. Medical alerts multiplied. By the third cycle, productivity dropped. Mistakes increased. Tempers shortened. Humans noticed too. Not because they were struggling, but because they were not. Human crew members continued to sleep normally. They gathered together in common areas, sat close, shared meals, laughed quietly during off hours. Their vitals remained stable. Their stress levels stayed low. The difference was impossible to ignore. Prerl watched the data with growing unease. This is not a human advantage, they said quietly to another liaison.
It is a human trait, and the rest of us no longer have access to it.
The breaking point came when Sarai collapsed during a shift. It was not dramatic. She did not fall hard. She simply sat down, glow fading rapidly, body shaking with exhaustion. Mara reached her first. She did not think. She knelt and wrapped her arms gently around Sarai's shoulders, pulling her close, blocking out the watching eyes. Sarai gasped once, then relaxed, her glow flaring back to life like a sunrise. Medical alarms sounded. "Security rushed in!" "Lieutenant," a voice barked. "Step away." Mara did not. "She's not dangerous," Mara said, not looking up. "She's tired." Sarai leaned into her without shame. "Please," she whispered, "do not take this away." The corridor was silent. Hours later, the council reconvened. This time, the data spoke louder than fear. Sleep deprivation graphs, stress markers, performance failures. And alongside them, the clear, steady lines of human regulation. Harold addressed the room one final time. "We are not banning a behavior," they said. "We are denying a biological need we did not know we had." Silence followed. Finally, a vote was cast. The suspension was lifted. Not as a favor, as a necessity. New protocols were drafted. Voluntary participation. Clear consent. Observation, not control. Mara returned to her cabin that cycle with Sarai beside her. They did not speak much. They did not need to. As the lights dimmed and the ship quieted, Sarai rested close once more, her glow soft and peaceful. Across the ship, others slept better too, not because humans were powerful, but because, in the endless cold of space, they remembered how to stay warm together. And the cooperative began to understand something vital. Humanity did not conquer the stars with force. They survived them by staying close in the dark. The change did not happen all at once. It moved slowly through the ship, careful and quiet, like someone learning to walk again after a long fall. New protocols were shared with the crew. They were written in simple language, translated into dozens of forms of speech. Light, sound, and signal. Participation was voluntary. Consent was required at every step. Observation would continue, but control would not. Humans were not ordered to help. They were asked. Many of them said yes without hesitation. Mara sat in a small briefing room with other human crew members. Some were engineers, some were pilots, some worked in maintenance or research. All of them listened as Dr. Hell explained the situation again, even though most already understood.
"This is not your responsibility," Hero said clearly. "You may refuse at any time."
"There will be no penalty." A tall human mechanic raised her hand. "If sitting next to someone helps them sleep, why wouldn't we do it?" Others nodded. A younger crewman frowned slightly. Are we sure this won't turn into, I don't know, people relying on us too much? Harel answered honestly. That is a concern. Which is why this will be shared. No single human will be assigned repeatedly without rest. Mara listened quietly. She had already agreed to continue with Sarai, but she felt the weight of what this meant growing heavier. This was bigger than one cabin, bigger than one ship. Across the Wayfarer's Dawn, shared rest spaces were prepared. They were not beds in the human sense, but adaptable environments. Warm zones, soft lighting, quiet sound patterns, places where different species could simply exist near one another without fear. The first night of the new system was tense, not because of conflict, but because of hope. Sari stood at the entrance of one such space, her glow steady but bright with emotion. Around her, other non-human crew members waited, uncertain. Talon stood nearby, tail wrapped close to their body. A crystalline scientist pulsed faintly. A gas-based life form hovered lower than usual. Containment field adjusted for comfort. Humans entered slowly, respectfully. No one rushed, no one touched without permission. Mara moved to Sarai's side. You ready? She asked softly. Yes, Sarai replied.
But I am afraid it will stop working.
Mara smiled gently. We'll find out together. They settled into a shared rest zone. Sarai rested beside Mara, close enough to feel warmth, not pressed, not trapped. Others arranged themselves nearby, choosing distances that felt safe. The lights dimmed. The ship listened. One by one, bodies relaxed. Breathing slowed. Light patterns smoothed. Sensors recorded what eyes could not fully see. Synchronization did not happen instantly, but it happened. Stress markers dropped across multiple species. Neural activity stabilized. Even those not directly near humans showed improvement, as if the calm spread outward in small waves. In medical, Harel watched in silence, wings folded tight. This is unprecedented, a technician whispered. Ryle nodded. Humans do not merely regulate themselves. They create environments where regulation becomes possible. By the third cycle, the effects were impossible to deny. Crew members reported fewer panic episodes, fewer errors during long shifts.
More cooperation, more patience.
Arguments still happened. Differences still existed. But the sharp edge of constant exhaustion was gone. Mara noticed the change in herself, too. She felt tired, yes, but it was a good tired, the kind that came from being useful, from giving something that mattered. She also felt a deeper awareness of boundaries. She learned to say no when she needed rest. Others respected it. Humans were not endless sources of warmth. They were living beings. The council aboard the ship sent a detailed report to the wider cooperative. The response was slow, then cautious, then overwhelming. Other ships began reporting similar issues. Upon sleep disorders, emotional instability, long-standing problems that have been treated as individual weakness rather than environmental failure. They asked questions. What were humans doing differently? The answer was uncomfortable for many. They stayed together, they touched, they rested in groups. They did not treat comfort as a failure. Some species resisted the idea strongly. One delegate sent a sharp reply. Closeness breeds dependence. Dependence breeds control. The human response was simple. Isolation breeds collapse. Back on the Wayfarer's Dawn, a problem emerged. Requests increased.
Not just for rest.
For presence. Some non-human crew members began seeking humans during waking hours, sitting near them during meals, standing closer during briefings, following them into quieter corridors. Most meant no harm, but the pressure grew. Mara felt it one evening when she entered the observation lounge and realized 3 different beings had chosen seats near her without speaking. She smiled politely, but inside, she felt tired. Harel noticed, too. "This was inevitable," they said during a private meeting. "We must correct before harm occurs." New guidelines were added. Humans would not be default stabilizers. Non-human species were encouraged to rest near each other as well, using what they learned from humans. Shared warmth sources, group rest, ambient sound. Slowly, something remarkable happened. They began to comfort one another. Talon rested beside another of their kind for the first time since leaving their homeworld. 2 crystalline beings synchronized their light cycles. Even species that had evolved to avoid contact began to tolerate proximity. Humans had not become a solution. They had become an example. Sarai was among the first to notice this shift. One cycle she chose to rest beside another Lyrathi crew member instead of Mara. She hesitated before telling her, "I do not wish to abandon what we share," Sarai said carefully. "But I want my people to remember too." Mara felt a small ache, then smiled. That sounds like growth, not abandonment. That night, Mara rested alone. She slept just as well. Weeks passed. The Wayfarer's Dawn became known quietly as a different kind of ship. Not more advanced, not more powerful, but steadier. When a sudden navigation crisis struck near a dense asteroid field, the crew responded with calm precision. No panic. No rushed decisions. The ship emerged, unharmed. Later, analysts noted the correlation. A rested crew survived. During a final council session before the ship returned to cooperative space, Hurl addressed everyone one last time. "We believed strength meant standing alone," they said. Humans showed us another kind of strength, one that shares the load. Mara sat beside Sarai, listening. Sarai's glow pulsed softly. "You did not fix us," she said quietly to Mara. "You reminded us of something we forgot." Mara looked out at the stars. Endless, cold, beautiful. "We forgot it too sometimes," she replied. "Space just helped us remember." As the ship turned toward its next destination, carrying its crew safely through the dark, a new idea traveled with it. That survival among the stars was not about who could endure the cold the longest. It was about who knew how to stay warm without burning each other. And that lesson, once learned, could not be unlearned. The Wayfarer's Dawn moved back toward cooperative space, its course steady, its engines calm. The stars ahead looked the same as always. Cold points of light scattered across endless dark, but the ship was no longer the same place it had been when the journey began. Something had changed, not in the metal or the systems, but in the people who lived inside it. Mara stood in the main observation hall, hands resting on the railing as she watched the slow drift of distant galaxies. The hall was quiet but not empty. A few crew members rested nearby, some alone, some in small groups. They did not cluster tightly anymore. They did not avoid each other either. There was space and there was closeness, and both were chosen. She felt tired, but not drained. Behind her, soft footsteps approached. "You are thinking loudly," Sarai said gently. Mara smiled without turning. "I didn't know I could do that." Sarai moved to stand beside her. Her glow was faint, steady, like a calm sea at night.
"Your posture changes when your thoughts are heavy," she said.
"But not painful. That's good," Mara replied, "because I think I'll be doing a lot of it soon." Sarai tilted her head. "Because we're almost home?" "Yes," Mara said, "because when we arrive, everything that happened here won't stay quiet anymore." They both knew it was true. The reports had already been sent. Data, observations, testimonies, not just from humans or medical staff, but from dozens of species who had lived through the change. The cooperative would review it carefully, slowly, politely. And then, inevitably, they would argue. The first official response arrived before the ship docked. A formal message from the Cooperative High Council filled the main briefing chamber. Representatives from across the ship gathered to listen. Some sat. Some stood. Some hovered or glowed softly. The message was calm, controlled. It acknowledged the findings. It praised the crew's professionalism. It expressed concern. And then it asked the question everyone expected. Is humanity's presence creating reliance? The room was silent. Mara felt her heart beat once, strong and steady. Dr. Hiro stepped forward. No, they said simply. It is revealing it. The council members waited. For many cycles, Roll continued, we treated rest failure as an individual weakness. We optimized systems, schedules, chemicals. We ignored the environment. Humans did not add something new. They removed isolation, a pause.
Reliance is not the same as connection, Sare said, stepping forward as well.
My species once believed the same mistake. We nearly lost ourselves to it.
The message ended without judgment. A decision would come later.
In the days that followed, the Wayfarer's Dawn docked at a major cooperative station. The crew disembarked slowly, carrying with them habits they did not realize they had learned. Humans walked together as they always had. Others walked closer than they used to. Some observers noticed. Journalists arrived, scientists, diplomats. They asked questions. Is it true humans are required for stable sleep? No, Mara said calmly during one interview. It's true we learned how to rest together. Others can learn it too. Did you intend to change cooperative culture?
No, she replied honestly.
We just didn't know how to live any other way. Sarai gave her own testimony. When I first asked for help, she said, glow steady under the bright station lights, I did not ask because humans were strong. I asked because they stayed. That statement spread faster than any data file. The cooperative began pilot programs, carefully controlled, shared rest spaces on mixed species stations, environmental adjustments inspired by human habitats, education about consent, boundaries, and shared regulation. Results came slowly, then steadily. Incidents of deep space panic decreased. Long-haul mission failure rates dropped. Crew retention improved. No single species was placed at the center. Humanity was not declared essential. They were declared instructive. A phrase began circulating through cooperative channels, informal at first, then official. Warm species, not because of body heat alone, because of behavior. Mara returned to Earth months later on temporary leave. The planet felt loud, crowded, alive. She visited her family, slept in her old room, listened to familiar sounds through the night. One evening, she sat outside under the open sky, wrapped in a blanket, watching clouds pass. Her communicator chimed softly. A message from Sarai. I am sleeping well, it read. Even when alone, I wanted you to know. Mara smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. I'm glad, she typed back. You helped teach us, too. How so? Sarai replied. Mara thought for a moment before answering. We remembered that what we give doesn't disappear when others learn it. When Mara returned to service, she was assigned to a new ship, different crew, different mission. But the ship's design looked familiar. Shared spaces, soft lighting, adjustable warmth zones. The briefing officer spoke plainly. This vessel operates under cooperative rest integration protocols, they said. Participation is voluntary. Respect is mandatory. Mara took her place among strangers. Some nervous, some curious. One small alien new to space travel lingered near her during the first rest cycle. Did not ask for contact, just stayed nearby. Mara said nothing. She adjusted the temperature slightly warmer. The alien slept. Far across cooperative space, similar moments happened, quiet, unrecorded, human or not. No songs were written, no statues built. But something fundamental shifted. Humanity was no longer seen only as explorers, or engineers, or soldiers. They were known as the species that carried warmth into the dark and did not hoard it. Not heroes, companions. And in the endless night between stars, that made all the difference.